All right, everybody, we have a lot of people coming in, but I want to hello and welcome you to our Skew Ninja plus White Spiders SEO Tips That Win webinar. This presentation is being recorded and we will send out a link after it is complete so you can watch it over and over and over again because these are awesome tips. I can promise you that. Please feel free to ask questions at any time using the QA module at the toolbar at the bottom of your screen, and we will answer the questions at the end. And now I would like to introduce you to our speaker, Philip Baker. Philip has worked in sales, marketing, and analytics for 5 years, helping to build several startups into thriving businesses. As a solution specialist at White Spider, Philip has worked alongside category specialists, Walmart Labs teams, and experts in the supplier community to create a roadmap to success on Walmart.com. All right, Philip, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Brooke. Thank you everyone for joining today. We're really excited to talk about some of these SEO tips specific to Walmart. So we're excited to kind of jump into this today. I will say that some of you are probably less excited about the term SEO than maybe Skew Ninja employees are, but hopefully by the end of today, you'll have a little bit more information about why it's important, opportunities to strategize for it, and really be more successful on Walmart.com because of it. So with that being said, we've got quite a few slides to get through today, so we'll jump right in. Before I switch to the kind of the kickoff slide here, I will say just as a preface, so SEO is search engine optimization, and we don't have a definition for it on these slides simply because everybody has their own kind of definition for it. But really what we're talking about today is how do you optimize your PDPs on Walmart.com to really align themselves with the different search engines that are sending your shoppers to your pages. So as we go through, we've got some tips and tricks. We've also just got more information about what SEO is. And as you know, we talk all the time about search. Skew Ninja is all about search, winning search, improving search. And so hopefully today we'll all get a kind of a better idea of what SEO is from Walmart, as well as some external sources. With that being said, typically when we have these webinars, and I've spoke on these before, we talk about internal SEO. And so I just want to clarify before we jump in, we are talking about external SEO today. So external SEO is really, think about it from the aspect of your shoppers. So someone goes on to a search engine like Google, they look for sports drinks or dairy or yogurt, whatever it is they're looking for. Our goal here is that your page is optimized so that a Google searcher ends up on your page from Google. So that's external SEO. So we're optimizing Walmart pages to show up in a Google search or a Bing search, all of these other search engines. Typically, like I said, we're focused on the kind of the inside of Walmart. When somebody browses or searches on Walmart.com, we want that digital shelf that shows up to be your items. The goal is, okay, if I can get more eyes on my item pages, I'll increase sales and move more units. And so today we're just kind of looking at the piece of that pie that's on the external and how that relates and how you can build out a strategy for that. Walmart.com search engine works a little bit differently than Google's, but there are many similarities and connections. And so if we think about this as two slices of the same SEO pie, internal and external, think about this as these two hands that are working together. So as we optimize for the external SEO, we're also optimizing for those Walmart.com search engines as well. So don't think of these things as competing with each other. We're really working to build out pages that are optimized for all search engines, not just the Walmart.com search engines. So with that being said, let's talk a little bit about what we need to know about SEO, kind of the importance of it. So the first piece is easy. SEO is free. And this is really important. It's kind of the pillar behind why every e-com company, anyone that's selling online, should have some sort of SEO strategy attached to what you're doing. Some of you, might have an SEO strategy, but it's just not very deep or broad. And some of you probably know more about or as much about SEO across all platforms as I do today. So I'm excited that both of you are in this webinar if that's the case. But it's important to point out that because this is free, everyone has the opportunity to play in the SEO space. So regardless of how big or small, regardless of the type of items you're selling today online, it's important to note that you can play in this space and you can compete. And there's a lot of people that miss the opportunity of SEO because they're so focused on paid advertisement and other things. And so this is that first kind of key component of SEO. The next one is what's on your item pages matters. So when we talk about SEO, we're talking about things that are in your control. You have access, you have the ability to update your pages in a way that optimizes for Google specifically, for all search engines. But because there's so much traffic through Google, we'll mostly talk about that today. So because you have not only the access because it's free, but also the access because these are your items and it's your brand. This is, again, something that we can't really miss out on. We've got to take the opportunity. It's, too much opportunity to not take advantage of, especially in today's world where there's so many shoppers looking online for items before they buy in store, before they buy from an e-com site. So it's free. You have access. You have the ability to change the item, so it matters what's on the page. Our third piece here, keywords are the foundation. So when we think about content on the page, SEO is really based around keywords. So it's important, it's incredibly important to know what keywords you're targeting. Now, when I say this, earlier I talked a little bit about how, some of you might already have some SEO strategy, some of you might not, but it doesn't really matter how effective your strategy is if it's not starting out in the right place. And so that's really where the keywords come into play here. So if you're targeting or you're optimizing for a keyword that has no traffic or very little conversion, and that's on Walmart.com or Amazon, Google, anywhere, then you're really missing the boat. You're missing this opportunity. And everything you do after that is going to fall a little bit short because you're not getting the amount of traffic that you need or a high conversion rate. And so it's just fundamentally important to make sure that you're starting in the right place. And that can be difficult because not all search engines, not all .com sites share some of that keyword information. And so it's imperative that you know, specific to the retailer, specific to the e-com site, what shoppers are doing on those sites. And we'll talk a little bit about how we can help with that later on. But for now, that's something to keep in mind. Those keywords are foundational. The last thing that I'll kind of touch on here on what we need to know about SEO is that it takes time. Okay, so this ties back to this free portion over here. It is free, but it takes time to be successful with your SEO strategy. And so it can take 3 to 6 weeks for your item page to be crawled and indexed on Google. When I say indexed on Google, I basically just mean Walmart.com, the system is allowing Google to crawl the pages on their site. They're allowing them to crawl, digital shelves and specific PDPs and browse sites. All of this data and all of these pages on Walmart.com have given access to Google to crawl. And the purpose of that is so that Google can say, okay, this page is about A and this page is about B. And when they are receiving these users, like myself, that go on to Google and search something, what they're trying to do is they're trying to match those two up. And this is why it's free. This is why there's so much opportunity, even though it's free, is because Google knows that if I show the right page or the right sets of pages to the right shoppers, to the right users, they'll always use Google. Walmart.com is the same way. They know if they show the wrong pages, the wrong digital shelf to a shopper, that shopper might go somewhere else. And so it's really important to understand that it will take time to do this. You kind of have to let those pages align themselves with Walmart, as well as with this Google, they call it the Google bot, that's going to crawl the page. But as you give that time, over time, once it's been indexed, and as that page continues to grow in an SEO standpoint, you have the chance to now show up and receive so much more traffic. This is also important to note that when you set up a new item, Google and Walmart, all of these search engines, it takes time for them to realize where that item sits, what that item's about, to read that content, to look at that title, to review those reviews that you've got on the item page. And so again, from this standpoint, not only does it take time, but it's imperative that you start strong, that we have the right attributes and content on that page. So these are the fundamental kind of pillars of what you need to know about SEO. Again, if you have questions, like Brooke said, please send them in, but we'll keep moving through here pretty quickly. So one thing that's important to note we work with Walmart. We are a Walmart company. We do that because we're partners with Walmart, and we believe that we want to be the best in class offering for all things Walmart and Walmart.com. And so what we want to talk about a little bit is, we understand that you want more traffic on your pages, but we want you, from our side, we want you to know why SEO is important to Walmart. Why would Walmart focus on SEO? And the primary reason is that a significant percentage of traffic comes to Walmart.com through Google search results. So Walmart understands that Google is kind of dominating the traffic standpoint, and they understand that if they can do a good job from an SEO standpoint, more Walmart pages will show up on those Google searches. And this is really important because Walmart, the purpose and goal of Walmart and Walmart.com, as we read these statements from them, is to get more traffic to their site. And of course, they're competing with Amazon and wanting to overtake Amazon with those placements. So increasing search rank on Google, this is a direct business goal of Walmart, which is good news for all of you that sell on Walmart, because it means that you're not doing this alone. Walmart is actually going hand in hand with you to place more pages, Walmart.com pages, on Google searches. And we'll look at some of the way they do that. Another big piece of why SEO is important to Walmart is just the shopper experience, and that goes hand in hand with SEO. So oftentimes when we talk about search engine optimization, we talk a lot about the conversion piece. But these search engines are also looking at things like reviews. Are they positive? What are people saying in reviews? It's looking at things like, Walmart.com, we talk about this a lot, conversion, add to cart, all of these important metrics that prove that a page is a good page for the shopper. These search engines are looking at these things. And so this shopper experience really does go hand in hand with SEO, which is why Walmart finds, it puts such an emphasis on SEO. And then the last piece I'll touch on here is, so Walmart has internal teams that are working on SEO as a whole. These internal teams, the whole focus of it is, like I said before, when a user goes to Google and searches something, that a Walmart page shows up before anything else. And so they're working on the back end of the systems. They're working with the Walmart teams, the Walmart merchants, the engineers, to kind of solve the equation of how do we get more traffic coming from Google. That's the goal of this team. And so you are not alone when you're selling on Walmart.com. And that's something that I think is just the power of this site and the SEO that they've built in and continue to build from an optimization standpoint. Walmart is doing this as well. And so today, if you were trying to optimize your own e-com site versus your Walmart.com e-com site, there's gonna be a lot more momentum and power on the Walmart side than your own e-com site for Google. So this just gives us that much more reason to be on Walmart.com. It also is a big part of why, again, SEO is incredibly important to Walmart. So with that being said, that's kind of our baseline. We've covered our foundation of what is SEO, what are the pillars of SEO. Now we want to talk about some SEO tips. And a lot of these tips will sound pretty familiar because we talk a lot about, I know the last webinar that I was on, we talked about that internal search engine at Walmart. Today, we're talking about the external search engine, but these two align in a lot of different ways. The first piece that we'll look at is something you've probably all heard a lot about, content quality scores. Despite what many people think, these content quality scores are not just Walmart's way of trying to own the world or have control over every little piece of your business. What Walmart is trying to do, what that SEO team is trying to do, they're trying to have the best content online for these search engines. They're also trying to have the best content online for shoppers. And so they created this content quality score system. And there are times where it feels like the target for content quality scores is always moving. But that's because those search engines are evolving and changing. And so what Walmart's attempting to do with these requirements is they're really trying to say, okay, how do we get as many pages on Walmart.com optimized for as many search engines as possible? Their own search engine, Google search engine, Bing, others. And so that's really what this scorecard is okay, these search engines are looking for this type of content, this length of title, these keywords in a description, these attributes, all of this information. And then they're trying to find ways, and they've kind of found that way of sharing that back to you as the supplier. We work with Walmart to provide these content quality scores back to suppliers as well. So that's something that's in SKU Ninja. But more or less, this is Walmart's way of trying to govern all suppliers and in turn get more traffic to walmart.com. Next piece, kind of the why this is important. I've already covered this a little bit, but this really does tie into those internal search engines as well as Google. So what we're trying to do with these content quality scores is make sure your content is relevant. If it's relevant, if it's good content, if it matches what these search engines are looking for, that page will be shown more often, more eyes, more conversion, more sales. Now, the last piece I'll touch on these scores is kind of how they affect SEO. And again, I've already kind of covered this, but these scores have that positive effect on the internal search engines at Walmart, but we also believe they have a big impact on the external. So again, just aligning your content to make the most sense and receive the most traffic. That's the point of these content quality scores. And if you know what your content quality scores are today and they're not as high, they're not above 80%, 95%, things like that, these metrics we've set, this is a great place to start from an SEO standpoint. Now, I will make a quick note here before we move off the quality score piece. We see that the content quality scores are changing. And I already mentioned they always evolve, but with the new omni-channel platform that we've all kind of started to jump into over the last couple of weeks, the content quality scores we believe will align even more so to what Walmart's trying to do with optimizing for search engines and for the shopper. So keep an eye out for that as they change. We believe they'll change with this new site, so over the next few months. But those content quality scores are always evolving based on what Walmart sees as important from a data and content standpoint. So keep an eye out for that. And if you have a way to get these content quality scores, again, SKU Ninja provides that. Keep an eye on those scores and make sure that they stay high. Okay, so what I want to do next is we talked about the content quality scores and kind of the general content that Walmart is saying will help your SEO. What I want to do now is kind of lay out a walmart.com page and talk about the most important parts for SEO specifically. These are the parts that these search engines are indexing, spending time on, reviewing to decide, okay, where should you fall on a category? You know, what page should we show for this shopper that's searching for something? The first three pieces to this, page title, description, key features, kind of goes in that order as well. If you think about it, the first thing that a shopper is going to see typically is a title, especially on Google. So if you think about it, or if you go after this webinar and you type a question into Google, you're going to see oftentimes the title of something that pops up. So as an example, Walmart content quality scores now want your title to be between 51 and 69 characters. There's a reason for that. There's a reason that they want to have this kind of limited scope that's long enough to include all the information those engines need without being so long that it's cut off on Google or on other search engines. So title is a huge thing. Description and key features allow us to tell those search engines exactly what your item is about, help them understand and index to decide, okay, this page is a sports drink, this page is a yogurt drink, whatever that might be. That description and key features, those give us the opportunity to communicate to the search engines. Another big piece of this that we don't talk about probably nearly enough, I think, in the market in general, are reviews. So reviews are crawled as well, and they have a huge impact, and they're going to continue to have a huge impact on your search engine optimization and where you're showing up in search. So today, Walmart just says you need to have a certain amount of reviews, and they've really pushed that. That helps with conversion as well, by the way, not just SEO. But I think what we don't always talk about, and what we don't really dive deeper into those reviews, and that is from a search engine standpoint, when they crawl those reviews, it's not just looking, okay, do you have reviews and are they positive, but what are people saying about your product? And that's incredibly important. And here's why, one of the reasons why. So you'll notice that oftentimes shoppers are different depending on where they're searching. So on Google, generally, and this isn't everyone, but generally, people searching questions. You know, I'll use the sports drink metaphor. If I go to Google, I might be asking what sports drink has the least amount of sugar, or what's the best sports drink for hydration or for running or for playing sports, whatever that might be. On Walmart, typically people are typing in, they're just searching sports drink. I know what I want, or they're typing in a brand name. And so from an optimization, from an SEO standpoint, these reviews allow the search engines to go, okay, this is what this person said about this product. This is what these people communicated about this product. And this actually answers the question that someone is searching on Google, or this provides more information for what is being searched on Google. And so that in effect has an impact on SEO as well. And so again, from a review standpoint, it's important to have a minimum number of reviews, and we'll talk about that in another time as well. But also, as you're getting these reviews, and you can pay for reviews, you can work with companies to help you add reviews, which is a huge help. But make sure that as you add these reviews and you work with people, make sure that you have a great product and you have a great page that explains this product, so that when someone gets it and receives it, they have a good shopping experience. They give you a positive review, and then those reviews in turn will help with SEO as well. So from a Walmart standpoint, these are kind of four key components of how to optimize that page. Okay, let's move over to something that we shouldn't do. So don't recycle your content. And this is probably one of the most common issues that we see on Walmart pages today. It's easy to take your content from Amazon, from other .com sources, copy and paste, add it into Walmart, and now you're done. And you feel like you kind of you match across the board, and you're giving your brand this identity across the board. The issue with that is Google will penalize your pages for having identical content. So again, not something that's talked about a lot, but something that's incredibly important for our Walmart suppliers to understand, that you need to have specific content for Walmart. And that's not just for Walmart. Of course, Walmart wants to be unique and stand out. And so your merchant teams and the content quality scores, they'll penalize you for that as well. But even more so, this massive amount of traffic from Google, you want to make sure that your pages are unique, that they stand out, and that they solve problems. And so keep an eye out on this. Don't do this. Take the time. It's worth it, especially from an optimization standpoint. You'll also be able to see kind of a bump in the native SEO at Walmart.com as well. So this will help in not only internal but external SEO to have that unique content. And again, this is why Walmart pushes it. It's why we push it. We talk about it a lot with search and conversion, how important it is to have that unique content. If you have more questions about this too, about what that content should look like, again, we have some tools in SEO Ninja that can help with that. Okay, so now that we've kind of wrapped up the content quality scores, we've moved through what not to do. We have some additional Walmart specific SEO tips. And when I say Walmart specific, what I really just mean is these will mention certain components of a Walmart page that might not be the same on Amazon or elsewhere. Kind of like rich media is something that's specific to Walmart, but these are some key components to SEO. So when you upload your images in rich media modules, and I know right now rich media is not being hosted, but that will come back. Descriptive names that include keywords that your shoppers are looking for are important. Okay, so this does have an impact. It's again something kind of on the back end that you don't always think about. We get this question pretty consistently, but it does have an impact on your SEO. So including those keywords wherever you can is very important. On the front facing things like a description or title, you can't keyword stuff. And again, I think we've got a tip later on that we'll talk about that. But on the back end like this, it's important to have these very descriptive names and include keywords on there. You still don't want to stuff keywords, make sure it makes sense, but make sure to include that on those names. Style guides are a huge deal. Walmart has done a good job of rolling out style guides for the majority of categories. So make sure to follow those style guides. I mentioned before that Walmart has an SEO team. So this is a huge deal to Walmart. So that style guide is not just based on, what Walmart's opinion is. It's based on data and insight that they have on how to get more traffic and how to make pages show up on a Google search. So keep an eye out for those style guides. We've got them, access to them. If you like them, we can share those back with you. but it's really important to know exactly what those recommendations are for the optimal image count, product naming conventions, etc. Mentioned this earlier, don't add filler, fluff, or spam. Everything we talked about today can be easy to say, okay, well, maybe once I find out what keywords I need, I'll just include it in my title, 32 times, and that way I'll show up first. And these SEO algorithms and these search engines, they're smart enough to understand kind of what you're doing there. And remember, a search engine, if it's working right, and these are very advanced, a Google search engine is successful if it places the correct product in front of the correct shopper. And so that's exactly what it's going to try to do. So if you have a bad title that doesn't make sense to me as a shopper, it doesn't matter how optimized it is, you've really kind of hurt yourself in that. So you have to find that line between optimizing to help the search engines know what item you have, what type of item you're selling, but also making sure that the shopper has a good experience. And then our last tip on this kind of Walmart specific piece is when you're doing the research for keywords. Earlier, I talked about just how important these keywords are. We've already touched on the search volume, but it's just important to note that just because you, as the manufacturer or owner of your item, just because you have keywords that make a lot of sense for your item, it might not be the keyword to use to optimize for, or certainly to pay for as well. So it's just important to note that each keyword is getting a different amount of traffic. Some keywords convert at higher levels, some could convert at lower levels. But once you know, and once you kind of drill down into the data, and we can help you with this through SKU Ninja and some of our tools, once you know what keywords to optimize for, everything else just turns into this SEO strategy that we're talking about today. But if you're not sure, or if you've been optimizing for keywords and haven't seen a lot of results from that, increased traffic, increased sales, we should talk about that and kind of dive into why that is and understand what keywords to target. This is probably the most fundamental piece of SEO. So again, this is something we have to get right. Mentioned it a couple times. This is a SKU Ninja webinar. We've got tools in SKU Ninja. We can create a prioritized keyword list for you so that you can see the top keywords for Walmart and for Google. We can also help you with those content quality scores by showing you the scores and the top issues, the things that Walmart are saying you need to fix. And so come to us. Again, at the end of this, I think we'll have some questions, but we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to sit down with you and talk about how we can help, both through our software, but also through our expertise. This is certainly not the end of SEO. We've tried to keep it high level and just touch on the key components today. But there's a lot more to talk about and a lot more kind of in-depth review to cover through something like this. So please reach out to us. We'd love to talk to you. We'd love to show you the tools in SKU Ninja and give you a hand.